You are listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm chatting with an IFTA-nominated broadcaster, journalist and entrepreneur. This week's guest had no doubt about the path she wanted to take in life. From a young age, being surrounded by music and the world of entertainment from her musician father, she found her comfort performing on stage. Following her interest, she enrolled in a one-year broadcast journalism course and before graduation secured a role reading the AA Roadwatch traffic news on national radio. A job that would put her future career plans in motion, it was her determination to make it on TV with a televised traffic report that changed everything. Fast forward, having stood on the world's biggest red carpets, fronted her own entertainment program, Xposé, travelled the globe in an effort to aid developing countries and creating products such as the magic hairbrush, here's what it's like to be Lorraine Keane. If we kick everything off by just giving people a little bit more of an insight into you and your personality and where everything started. If you wouldn't mind telling me, I don't know if you remember, but what did you want to be when you were growing up?
What I wanted to be was work in entertainment. My dad's a musician, and there was always music in our house. I'm one of 7, so we were compared to the Von Trapp family for a long time by all my friends because we were like steps upstairs as well, very close in age. So music was always my first love, and after that I kind of liked the idea of acting. So for me it was probably always going to be something in the public eye and probably on stage. It's just where I felt comfortable. Embarrassingly, I'll tell a story against myself, but when my parents were videoing any family member for whatever reason, I would try and pull focus on whoever the camera was on. So you constantly see me, it's so cringe. You constantly see me kind of walking in the background, behind the person who's being featured and kind of waving or, show hands or doing a cartwheel So I was never camera shy, but I was never sent to a drama school or a music school. We learned piano as children because that's one of my dad's instruments, and he wanted us all to learn piano. But I wanted to sing and I wanted to act and all that stuff, but we just didn't because my mum was a stay-at-home mum. My dad was traveling a lot with the band, and she just said, I don't have the time for you all to have after-school activities. So it's funny, my 2 girls go to the Young People's Theatre in Rathfarnham, where I'm from, and Anne Kavanagh is the amazing teacher, and she's been teaching for over 40 years because that's where I wanted to go. And I bring the girls, every Saturday, well, not of the last year, unfortunately, but normally every Saturday, and they absolutely love it. And it's just to give them confidence. It's very old-fashioned and traditional in the way they approach speech and drama. But every time I'm there and Anne is there, I say, oh, why wasn't I able to go to you? Why wouldn't my family, my parents let me go to you? And she always says, you didn't need me, okay? You're grand on your own. Get over yourself. And she's probably right, but it's something that when I realized that with acting, there was a lot of downtime and, it's just so competitive. And I thought I wouldn't be good on the downtime because I kind of have to be busy. So didn't follow that. And then with the music thing, I saw that my dad worked all of the occasions where other people were socializing. So, all the weekends, all the Christmases, all the Easters, all of those kind of times, he got busier. And I thought, yeah, I'm not too mad about that either. And then my friend Ali, my best pal, we were in school together since we were 4. She came across a course in broadcasting and journalism, and was basically the broadcasting side. We felt it was like being paid to talk, and I'd no problem with that. So she said to me, you should do this. It was just a foundation course for a year in Senior College Ballyfermot. And I wasn't sure that it was going to be my thing, although I love news and I love writing and love reading and all that. And I did it and I absolutely loved it. And then was planning to go into DCU after that to do the full 4 years media communications course at the time. And I was put forward as one of the people from my course to audition for AA Roadwatch. And I got the job. So never got to do the 4 years of media college. But I kind of figured that a job on national radio, even though it was just reading traffic news, was probably a job that I would have wanted to get after my 4 years anyway. Yeah. So I did my 1 year in Ballyfermot, got my my job in AA Roadwatch, and then it all just kind of snowballed from there in different ways into TV and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting to hear. It sounds like you had a really fun childhood as well with all that going on in your house. And so I suppose if you could take me back to those initial days entering the broadcast industry, as you said, you were working with AA Roadwatch. What was it like, and what was I suppose, did it meet your expectations of what you thought that industry could bring to you after having such a good time on your course?
You know, it was great insofar as it broke me in very gently into the media. I was only 18 and I had to broadcast on Morning Ireland, you know, the biggest radio show in Ireland at the time, and probably still, on Radio 1. So although it was only a 60-second report, it was a nice kind of easing my way in, at the same time as being thrown in at the deep end because of the audience and the radio station and the show. But because A Road at that time was only on Radio 1, and there was just myself and Conor Faulkner broadcasting at the time, and Philip Hughes actually. So there were three of us, but we were taking turns and doing the broadcast. But to make up your day's work, we would work in the rescue centre of the Automobile Association. So I got to work with, you know, a completely different generation to mine. They were all, you know, we were like the little young ones, and because we were all in our late teens and early 20s, and these were people that were working in the Automobile Association probably for, you know, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 years. So we were very cushioned and looked after and minded by all of our colleagues. You know, we would do our Roadwatch thing, would be in, you know, like silly early at kind of 5:30 in the morning, and you'd have your first report on John Creedon, I think around 6:30, and then after the traffic had passed and the rush hour had passed, we'd go up to the rescue centre around 9:30 and work then for the rest of the day. So it was nice to be kind of minded and cushioned and still get the buzz out of a little bit of radio, you know, live radio. And then the bosses in the AA, in the Automobile Association and AA Roadwatch were just so nice, you know, and the whole broadcasting end of things was kind of new to them, because their main focus was breakdowns and insurance and things like that. So this little broadcasting studio that was in, you know, on the top floor of a very old building on Suffolk Street was kind of, you know, like what's going on in there? The young people are just, you know, having fun, and then for that reason it made our job much easier, because we were kind of let, you know, do our own thing in some ways, not insofar as, you know, it was obviously a representation of the AA at the time, so that was hugely important, but they were willing to listen to us, I suppose. And we had lots of kind of ideas of how to expand the service, and I wanted us to get on 2FM because I realized that, you know, this was a really good opportunity for the AA as a brand to reach younger people, and 2FM, RT Radio 2 is obviously the younger audience, and they allowed me to develop that idea, and that's how I got on to Ian Dempsey's radio show at the time with producer John Clark, and that was lovely. So we got to I suppose use our talents and skills that we learned in college, and they were very, very supportive and encouraging. So we're really lucky, you know, to be able to hold the reins like that, you know, at that early stage of our careers.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a nice way to enter, and really interesting way as well to kind of go in, looking at what you're doing now with or what you have done with entertainment and being so heavily involved in that. I didn't know that you went in through kind of AA Roadwatch. It's really interesting.
I know, and my double barrel name was it's like I still have a double barrel name. People still say it to me, like, I get into a taxi, Lucy, and the taxi driver won't recognize my face, but once I start talking, you can see them kind of looking in the wind mirror going, "It's yourself, isn't it? Go on, say it for me, say it for me." And I say, "Lorraine Keane, AA Roadwatch," and they went, "Oh." So for me, it was such an incredible opportunity to get my name out there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. On national radio, both, you know, Radio 1 and Radio 2. So yeah, it was an incredible opportunity for me, and you know, probably some of you know, my best memories of my career were during that time. You know, they were like another family to me.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. That's so funny about the taxi thing. And
yeah.
So I suppose leading on from that very simple question, but how did you end up in the world of entertainment, and what was that shift like for you initially?
Yeah, that happened again, just opportunities, that came my way. So, having gotten a Roadwatch onto 2FM, on Ian Dempsey's radio show, because of the nature of that show, and it's, so much more kind of relaxed than the likes of the current affairs news show that Morning Ireland is. It gave me an opportunity to show my personality, or at least Ian Dempsey and John Clark gave me the opportunity to show my personality. So when I'd come on to read the traffic news, Ian would have a chat with me beforehand or a chat with me afterwards, and we'd have a laugh. And that was lovely to be able to get, that chance to not only show my personality, but also get used to not just reading a script, And from that then, Frontier Films, the independent production company that made No Frontiers with Catherine, they contacted me, and because they'd heard me chat on Ian's show so often, and they liked my personality, and they said, we're actually putting together a business show, but it's not too heavy, but it's interviewing entrepreneurs all over Ireland on their kind of startups, and we would like you to screen for it. I also actually, before that, I had managed to convince Live at 3 on a Friday, on RTÉ television, on RTÉ1, to take a televised traffic report, which was like so chancy because there was no need for a televised traffic report. But I was like, it's Friday and people are heading away for the weekend, or heading home, or heading to the country, or on their commute, whatever. So they said yes, obviously, eventually, and I was presenting on that. So people had started to see me as well, I suppose. And again, I'd stand out on, a bridge or a motorway somewhere in Dublin and do the traffic for the weekend. This place is going to be closed, that festival's going to be on, so mind that road. There's going to be roadworks here, all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I got a call and said, from Frontier Films, saying, would you like to screen for this business program called Start Me Up? And I screened and I got the job. So there was myself and Niall Quinn, would you believe, the footballer, and Will Leahy, who's a presenter and lawyer, actually, amazing guy. And the three of us presented that show together. So that was my first TV show. I also did some sports reports for motorsport for the AA Circuit of Ireland Rally with Conor Falkland. So I was kind of dipping my toe into various little bits of TV, and then got the opportunity with Frontier Films. So that was great, but I was working still full-time in AA Roadwatch, Monday to Friday, and then I was filming at the weekend. So, thank God I was in a relationship, but I had no children, so no major commitments, because it ended up that I was kind of doing 7 days a week in broadcasting, be it radio or television, but I loved it so much it never felt like work. And my dad always said that to all of us, Lucy, because he's a musician and he loves what he does, and he's always loved what he does. He always said, try and find a hobby that you can make a career. And that's what I feel I've done. And that's what I love. To this day, I love my job.
Yeah, I think that's, the goal for most people. And I that's why I love talking to people that have managed to do that, because it's so inspirational. It shows to people that you can do it if you work hard enough. As you said, though, it does take the hard work you put in the graft, 7 days a week, which I feel like a lot of people maybe think is not necessary, but it really is. And so obviously, you've done some incredible things. You've been on the world's biggest red carpets, which must have been so much fun. So can you share a little bit about that, and I suppose then your days on Xposé as well, and what that whole whirlwind was like for you?
Yeah, so from doing the shows for independent production companies that were shown on RTÉ, I then got a call from Andrew Hanlon, who was to be the director of news of a new commercial TV station called TV3. So I got a call from Andrew to say they would like to talk to me about presenting with TV3 full time. And as I say, at that time, I was working 7 days a week. And I just thought, my goodness, this would not only be a great opportunity because it's, full-time in TV, which I realized was the part that I loved the most, but it'll also mean that, stupidly, when I think back now, very naive of me, that I'll have the weekends off because I only work Monday to Friday, as if TV3 was a startup. So it was full on, and we worked, gosh, every moment that God sent us, we were working to, to start up Ireland's first commercial TV station. But to be there from the very beginning was really special as well. And we were all so young when I think about it. Like, we were all in our kind of middle 20s, and we were basically running a TV station, a gang of us together. And it was just so exciting. And I became entertainment correspondent from the very first day. And I continued to be entertainment correspondent for 9 years. So that's when I traveled around a lot. As you say, going to the Oscars and going to Cannes Film Festival and, covering all sorts of fabulous events and interviewing really, really interesting people. So that was amazing. It was absolutely a dream job. And really, I suppose it ended up being more or less Monday to Friday, apart from when there was a music festival or something taking place on the weekend or a little bit of travel, then it would encroach into my weekends a little bit. But mostly for those 9 years, it was Monday to Friday, because I was live on TV3 News at 6 o'clock. So I'd get home by, before 7, and then I had the girls. I had Amelia and I had Romy. And I suppose it was when I had Amelia, it was actually fine, because it was kind of more or less Monday to Friday. And it wasn't until I had Romy and I got a phone call from Andrew again during my maternity leave to say, we've decided to go ahead with that entertainment show you've been pushing for all this time. It'll mean you have to come back a little bit earlier from your maternity leave if you really want it. And of course, I really wanted it. So that's when I was with Xposé for fronting it for 2 years with 2 small babies. And after 2 years, I just felt that, because again, I was back to doing a 7-day week. My priorities had changed, still loved my job so much, was so happy to have my own show. I can't tell you, because that's what I'd worked towards forever, but I wasn't getting much time with my little girls. And that was, no matter how brilliant the show was and how much I loved my TV3 family, I was miserable, a lot of the time, because it was just, the balance had swayed in the wrong direction. So I decided to, and it's so unfortunate that for a lot of women, you don't have the choice, it's all or nothing. For me with Xposé, it would have had to be all or nothing. It would have been nice to maybe do a 3-day week or a 4-day week, but at the time those options weren't there. They're more so now, for sure, which is amazing, but maybe still not enough. Because it's a shame that sometimes women have to park their careers and make that choice. It'd be nice to be able to manage both.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as my next question was going to be, why did you leave Xposé? But you've just answered that for me. So I suppose, but I can imagine, obviously, your reasons were because you wanted to spend more time with your children. But for you individually, having worked for so long, so hard in this incredibly fast-paced environment, things going on all the time, non-stop, what was it like for you, I suppose, the first day when you didn't go into work and it was, you kind of left that world a little bit behind?
Great question. Yeah, it was, I was up and down the whole time. It was really difficult. And I suppose I just hadn't really factored in the fact that I had never not worked. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that children at home, small babies, are not work. They are seriously hard work. But it made me realize, I suppose, that I it sounds a bit selfish, but at the same time, I don't mind admitting it or feeling this way anymore. For a long time I did. I just can't be a mum. I do need to have a career and a job, for my own self-worth and independence, for the buzz that it gives me. And yeah, I mean, I learned that, having packed it in. So I actually only packed it in for about 6 months for that reason. But then I was always self-employed and have been self-employed since. And that has given me amazing freedom. It also gives me amazing worry sometimes, because you're self-employed and you're like, Jesus Christ, are they going to want me next year? But I've spoken to other people that are freelance over the years, and they've all said, listen, just look back at the diary from the year before and the year before, and, you know, take a deep breath and a chill pill. And for me, it has given me all of the things that I wanted. And I also managed to still stay in the business and stay relevant and have a career and pay the bills and have my independence and all that. So the first 6 months, I suppose the first few months were amazing, because I was able to, you know, go out with the child and, you know, during the day and with a buggy and, you know, have coffee mornings and all those things that, you know, I used to look at other moms and friends and my sisters and kind of go, oh God, I'm missing that, you know. So it was nice to have that for a while. But then I was kind of looking around me going, okay, now what can I do, you know, for me as well at the same time. And I admire stay-at-home moms and full-time moms so much, Lucy, because I really don't mind admitting it now. I just couldn't be that good and that nice. You know, I do need to do stuff for me too. And, you know, that's okay. You know, everybody's different, and you just have to do whatever works for you and not be influenced by anything else. You know, mommy guilt is a terrible thing. And I've realized that when I was working full time, all of the time, I was mommy guilt. When I was working, you know, no time, just 100% with the girls, I was still guilty, because, you know, I'd go to bed at night going, oh, I should have had the energy to read her that book, or I should have, you know, sat down and played Barbies with her when she asked me. And, you know, and then I did now this stage where I'm doing both and having time with my family, which is really important. And I'm having time for me and my job and my career, which is really important. And I'm still guilty all the time. Do you know what I mean? Feeling like I'm not doing enough for them. So that's just a silly thing that women do to themselves. And that's been a nice thing to learn, that just to stop it. Okay. You know, you're doing the best that you can, you know, and I don't try and be the perfectionist that I wanted to be in my 20s and even kind of early part of my 30s. You know, I used to want to do everything 100% all of the time. Whereas now, thank God, I'm just kind of happy to muddle through and get most things done, you know.
Yeah, you certainly figured it out for yourself. I think it's really cool how you kind of recognized that you needed something else, so then you solved the problem for yourself by becoming self-employed. And you know, you've done some really cool entrepreneurial things too since then, which I don't know if you wouldn't mind telling people a bit about, if they don't know the other work that you've done.
Well, I suppose the opportunities that I had, I wouldn't have had, and I wouldn't have looked for if I was working full time still in TV3, because I wouldn't have had the time or the energy, you know.
Yeah.
So it was great to, you know, be able to write a book of my memoirs of the business, you know, a book that Louis Walsh says is the book that Bridget Jones would have written had she had that career in television.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
It was kind of nice. I love that. Yeah. Because it was just a very honest and real book of memoirs of the wonderful experiences I've had, you know, where I, you know, times where I really screwed up and made an each to myself, and all those lovely other adventures that I had. So I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have gone on a musical theatre tour and performed in the Gaiety Theatre, you know, for 2 weeks. So 4 weeks in total, runs in the Gaiety, you know, that sold out, and all around the country and all the wonderful theatres we have for 4 months. I wouldn't have done that, you know, singing, dancing and acting, what I wanted to do way back.
Like full circle. I love that.
And then suddenly I get this opportunity at 40, you know, to bounce around the stage and make an idiot of myself. And that was really stepping outside of my comfort zone at that stage. And in this country as well, Lucy, like, you know, when you see all over the UK, people that are television presenters and all sorts of things would go into musical theatre and do pantos and things like that a lot. But back then, nobody in Ireland had done that. So everybody was really shocked, going, and can you sing? You know? No, I'm just going to get up on that stage.
Yeah.
Gave me a part, like there were 5 parts. The other 4 were proper pros, like real actresses who could really sing. And I was the blow-in. But anyway, it was just the most amazing experience. It just felt like we were kids for me, and I was playing dress up every day. So that was amazing. And then also doing other things like, you know, I'd spoken forever. I always knew as a young person that I think since Bob Geldof and Live Aid and Band Aid and all that, I always thought that I would do something within the developing world and try and help to fundraise and stuff like that. And again, when I was working in TV3 with 2 small babies, there was no chance I was going to give up. I had 20 days holidays a year. So there was no chance I could justify giving even 5 of those days, which would be 1 week, to traveling to a developing world country with charity. But when I left TV3 in full-time employment, I had no excuse. So that's when I started doing my annual trip as a volunteer on behalf of Irish NGOs. To see their projects and then come back and report on them. And the skill set in TV3 that I had developed over being there for 11 years meant that I could not only present, but I could produce, I could direct, I'd research, and I'd script write and all of that stuff, and edit. I was a cheap date, so they would literally just pay my flight, and then we would, go out and film all these projects and then help to fundraise when I get back. So that has been an amazing experience for me, and not an easy one, and one that is definitely a major sacrifice because I don't find it easy at all. But it's one of the most rewarding things I have ever done. And I just always say to myself when, the trip is approaching, to get over myself and get on with it and know that what I'm doing is helping. And that's huge for me, to be able to feel like, I'm using the kind of the not important, silly kind of job that I do, the career that I have, and yet get looked after so well and paid well and all that, using it for good, and giving something back to the people who need it most. So that's been amazing. And setting up Fashion Relief off the back of that, where I work with Oxfam Ireland to raise funds, has been a huge passion for me too. So all of these things I would never have done. And as much as I adore television, and I hope I get an opportunity to do TV again, because it is my mojo and I love it. I know that I have so much more because of it. And yeah, it's, thank God. I love that poem, The Road Less Travelled.
Yeah.
And, the last line of that is, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. And that does make a big difference to me.
Yeah, it pretty much sums up your life so far. I feel you definitely, definitely.
Not adverse risk at all. When it comes to a job, take risks, but maybe not personal life, thank God. But with jobs, it's like, do you know what? Jobs come and go. There'll always be other ones.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I thought that your charity work was really amazing. I was going to ask you about that as well. But yeah, it's so cool to see how much you've done and how much you've experienced in such a short time as well. So I mean, I know at the moment it's kind of an impossible question because of the situation we're all in, but what is coming up for you next? What do you think that the next few years is going to hold for you?
So I developed this great little bit of magic called the magic hairbrush during just before actually, the first lockdown. So my friend Matt Malone, who is a hairdresser for over 30 years, he has always wanted to design a detangler, something that's better than the Tangle Teaser. And it's funny because I'm a beauty product, hair and beauty product junkie. So I love, trying anything in that kind of industry and sphere as well. So Matt, contacted me a good while ago, and his business partner, Ray Fitzpatrick, and himself had come up with this idea of a detangler with a hairbrush, which all sounds a bit kind of, whatever, it's a hairbrush. There's no hairbrushes out there in the world. This honestly is very special and quite unique. So together we kind of developed different cases for it, and I mean, he was the one that was behind all of the workings of this little piece of magic, with the bristles and the vents and the flexibility and all of that stuff. But we were supposed to launch it in April of last year. And as I say, it was my first product to be involved in. And then the pandemic happened, so we were on lockdown. So we were going to put it on hold. And then I decided, you know what? This little bit of magic is probably needed now more than ever because of all the hair salons been closed. So, it's funny, like Holy God works in strange ways.
Yeah.
That's a saying I always use because, the timing was even better actually, Lucy, in the end. And it has just been going so well. And to get like daily comments from women and men, but mostly women, and from their children, saying how much they love it and how, you know, it has changed a small part of their lives, where there's no tears in the morning, you know, and before school or anything like that, or that they can just, women that have really coarse hair or curly hair, or women with afro hair and they could never brush their hair, can now do it. So, you know, it actually does exactly what it says on the tin. And yeah, I'd like to develop a few more, you know, useful and, you know, affordable kind of products that I feel there aren't any options out there. And yeah, and that'd be nice. I'd like to maybe do something like that, because I've never been a businesswoman in that way, you know, an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So it's been really exciting the last year.
Yeah, I'd say that's been quite a change. And it's so cool that the first thing you're involved with, as you said, it did make such an impact. Yeah, it worked and worked well. I've seen so many people raving about it online. So well done. Yeah, and so I'd be interested to know if you did have a personal definition of success, as someone that has experienced so much, let's say, stereotypical success, you know, people would look at you and call you successful in that sense of the word. But for you, what does that term mean with regards to your life?
I suppose it's easy for me to answer that because it's something that I say to my two girls all the time. They're 14 and 17. So, you know, they probably throw their eyes to heaven if they hear me saying it, like, oh, here she goes again. I always say to the girls, whatever you want, it is there. It's there for the taking. So always just, you know, work hard, and don't be afraid of working hard, and focus. Don't be afraid of working for free. You know, I worked for free a lot. I still work for free. And sometimes if I think it's going to introduce me to the right people, or, you know, work in you know, that area that maybe I might be in already, or, you know, even the charity work that I would do, where I'm hosting events for charities, and I would never charge. And the reason I don't is because, one, I don't want to be taking from their fundraising, you know, in as much as possible, because that's why we're all there. But secondly, you know, I feel like I'm also getting something out of it, because there's going to be people in that room that may work in different areas completely, and they might say, God, yeah, do you remember that event that we had last year? We're thinking of doing it this year. We need a host. You know, she's a great host. Maybe we'll give her a go. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel that if you give something of yourself without looking for anything in return, it's really good karma. And without a shadow of a doubt, it comes back to you. And I think that's why I've been successful. Both the giving without expecting anything in return, I think is good karma. The fact that I am a hard worker, and I'm a grafter. I'm not afraid of hard work. I can focus, and I really enjoy what I do. So I think if you can tick all those boxes, there's no way you're going to fail. There's just no way you're going to fail. And people used to say to me when I was growing up, Lucy, and it's terrible when I think about it, because it was almost a bad thing for a female to be ambitious, you know, and they'd say to me in interviews in my late teens and my early 20s, oh, you're obviously very ambitious. And I'd say, oh, no, I'm not. No, it's not that. It's just I love working, and, you know, and I like being busy, and I'm focused. And it was all of those things. I did like working, and I like being busy, and I was focused. And therefore, the chances are you'll get there, you'll succeed. But it was also okay to say, yeah, actually, I want to succeed. I want to get there. But don't think that you'll get there just by thinking of yourself, doing it all for what you want. You know, give something back, and be kind, because my mother always said there's always room in the world for a kind person. And yeah, I think if you have all of that, then you will succeed, and you'll be very happy about it too along the way.
Yeah, it's like a healthy recipe for success. I love that. Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for giving up your time. I know you're a very busy woman, so I really do appreciate it. And it's been so interesting listening to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucy, and thank you for looking me up and for finding me and giving me the opportunity to talk to you as well. Well done to you. You're doing amazing.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. To find out more about Lorraine and her work, visit the links provided in the show notes. I'll be back on Monday with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.